today will just be a continuation of what we went over last time, which was Firebase, authentication, Firestore, and a little bit. We're also going to go over a little bit of Git today too, just as a refresher, since you need to use it for the hack challenge. Actually, let me switch slides. Yeah, since you need to use it for the hack challenge. And then the last thing we're going to go over is TileService. The student asked me to go over this as like an additional topic to learn. So I thought that today would be a good day to try and implement that. And yeah, I guess as for any reminders, so since the hack challenge is underway, I sent an email yesterday about mentors. So every group in the hack challenge gets a mentor. And yesterday I sent the assignments for the given mentors. I also sent a link to join like the Slack channel where the mentors will be reaching out as a primary way to kind of communicate between the two. Since a lot of the mentors are already on Slack because they're on AppDev. And it's an easy way for them to see messages that are coming in easily. So if you have any question or anything like that, you can just send them a message in like your group Slack channel that I set up. And yeah, and also be on the lookout for a message from the mentors to set up a quick meeting sometime during the weekend. Since the midpoint submission is on Sunday, we want to make sure that you guys are on the right track to getting the midpoint requirements down. So yes. Anyways, here is the attendance code for today. Okay, cool. And I'm just going to transition to Enter Studio. Are you signed into your Cornell account by chance? And the number of the day is 36. Okay, we can get it situated after. I think I might know what's up. Yes, so the first thing I want to do is just kind of just recap what we went over last time. So we got through all of the authentication bit of Firestore. So how authentication works is that it kind of works through this main object here. And then in order to actually launch the Google sign-in, you have to do it through an intent, which I set up here. It's a lot of just boilerplate of kind of how to actually launch the intent. It's all in the documentation, but this is kind of how you can go about setting up the sign-in intent. And then you have to have kind of this like request launcher callback pattern. So how I use this is that I use it to launch the sign-in intent because we want to know from the sign-in intent whether or not the sign-in request was successful, and this lets us do that because you see here in this if condition, we analyze to see if the result is okay, and that means that if the result is okay, that means that we have signed in successfully. Now you see, since we signed in, then we can actually access our user. And then all I did was just take the profile image from the user and then just created, and then just added the photo to the given profile image view. And then yeah, so you can try running this real quick. I think I just got to creating the secondary activity here. Oh, but I haven't actually done anything in terms of the Firestore part of this. I think I was just also setting up the layout activity file here too. So we're just gonna wait for this to launch. course, it takes a while. I guess in the meantime, I can also, get started on reviewing Git, and then I'll just transition back to kind of showing what we have so far in terms of on the actual Android app. So, right. So usually, in order to, add Git to our given project, at the top here, there's this tab called VCS, which stands for Version Control System. So if you go to VCS, then we can create a Git repository. In this case, nothing to show. So what this does is that it adds the Git managing system to our actual Android project. And once you do this, you might see that all your files turn red because that's the first time that they've been added to like the Git history. So they're all kind of fresh in terms of how they're changing. So we give it a minute. So yeah, just like I said, all of them return red because they're all new files according to Git. And then we have to. So then once we actually have Git to our project, you see here how the VCS then changes to Git because now we have an actual Git repository on our project. And then the second thing that we can do is that we can then then we can actually create a project onto GitHub itself. So we can just share a project on GitHub. In this case, we can give it a name. In this case, I'll just give it Firebase demo. And then I'll create this on my personal GitHub. And then you can give it, my computer froze. Okay. And then we can give it a description. In this case, I'll just say Android project to showcase Firebase and Git. And then click share. Right, and then it'll have you add all of your files to your initial commit here. So you can just add it directly, that's fine. You can wait for that to do its thing. Okay. Right, so now I should have the project actually on my personal GitHub. So then let's check and see. github.com. Oh, actually, I'll just do it on here right now. I'm signed in for sure on here. Okay, github.com. Okay, and then let's see if we can find it. Oh, here it's the last one. So in ta-da, we have our actual repository online on GitHub, right? This is kind of how you can create a GitHub repository and then just launch it onto GitHub, which is kind of like the first hurdle in terms of getting GitHub started on Android Studio. And then now that you actually have kind of GitHub set up and Git set up, how can you kind of, I guess, first I'll just showcase where we are right now in terms of the app. So here I have the app launch. You can see it on the side here. So then once I said, we can click the little icon at the bottom right to sign in. And that should sign me in automatically with the account that it has. In this case, this is my Cornell account, so it has my Cornell profile picture. And then, yeah, and if I click next, I don't think the next is actually set up. But what I intend to do for the next is to launch the second activity, if you just were starting to set up. But yeah, come and miss that. Okay, right. So now we have GitHub set up. Now we can actually start pushing changes and committing changes to our repository online. So since you're kind of working with partners, you want to try and you don't want to. So right now we're on the Git branch master, and you can see that at the bottom right hand corner here. And you don't want to kind of directly push things onto master. You want to try and create branches. So this is what it looks like right now in terms of our Git tree, right? So if you try creating a branch, that kind of separates the development from where we currently are, from where we're currently creating a branch from. In this case, I'll create one from origin master here, and then new branch from selected. So I'll just name this Chris Firestore. So what this does is it creates a new branch for me to develop on that does not affect the master until I'm ready to actually merge it into that GitHub repository. So here I just have this Chris Firestore. So if I make changes to this, say I add this comment here. Hey, actually, do something more productive. I'll change the next button to actually launch the second activity. Set on click listener. So start activity. So activity intent this to secondary activity. Class.developer. Right. So then now that I have this kind of new created, so how this works, sometimes when you add changes that diverge from what it was before, it'll have first your file will turn blue, and then that means that the file has kind of changed in some way. So now we can actually push this change online onto GitHub. So let's do that here. So on like the top right here, you can see these three icons: update, project, commit, and then push. Here we're just gonna commit here, which means that it kind of dedicates these changes to its own point in time in the Git history. So here, I just simply, usually when you're writing commit messages, they should be imperative, like you're commanding. So in this case, what did I do? I just add a button to launch second activity. Now that we're done, we can push these changes online. Commit and push, and it'll have you push. So we see here we have kind of, so then now our kind of history grows, but it's on this new branch that isn't currently attached to the master. So how can we merge our button changes here onto our original master branch? We have to create what is called a pull request. So here, usually when you change, so say I commit something new, you'll have this banner that has like, say if I push something new, you'll have this banner that says like, oh, recent pushes, and it'll have you compare and make a pull request. So you can do that directly there. In this case, I just added some simple code that just launched the intent here. So I'll just say adds a button to since I want to merge these changes onto the master, I can just simply, so it's merging from this branch to that branch. So I'm merging my changes from my Firestore branch onto our changes to our master branch. So I can just add, in this case, you can also add reviewers. Since if you're working with a partner, this is where you can kind of add your reviewer to kind of check over your code to make sure it's good before it's merged into master. Yeah, so then I'll create a pull request, and then I can just merge it directly. Nice. And then if I go to our code here, and then if I try and find that main activity, look at that. Our code that we just pushed is now onto our main branch. What's cool about Git is that you can also kind of search through branches as well. So if I want to look at what the current Firestore branch looks like, I can just switch branches just like this. In this case, it's the same code, but if you want to see anything different, you can use that as an option as well. All right, so back to Visual Studio. All right, so now let's finish fleshing out our second activity a bit. So I want the second activity to serve as a profile for our new user onto our brand new app. So I was kind of just getting it started, but I didn't finish. I have this edit text view here. I can close this. I have this edit text here that just gets the college name of the user. Start, top, bottom, change this to right, end of. Right, and then let's add something to ask about their favorite food. Wrap content, ID, favorite food. And then let's add the same constraints, except I want the top to be to the bottom of our college name field. Let's go on the side, you can see that. And then let's add one more field, a button to actually create our profile. And use something similar. In this case, I'll constrain the top to the bottom of favorite food. Nice. So we have our three fields here. Let's see if I can margin bottom 200. Okay, I guess that's fine. Oh wait, no, that's not what I wanted to do. That's fine. 200 dp. Oh, I'll just get rid of this. Sorry, it's gonna make this look somewhat presentable. Okay, 200 dB. The spacing on this is gigantic too. Oh, that's why. Okay, that's good. So now we have a good screen. Right. So now I intend to use this activity, as I said, to create a profile. So then let's create a model class like we've done in the past for networking and recycle views to kind of encapsulate the information that I want to capture. I'll just create a new class here. Take the class profile. Oh, in this case, I want to add this file to Git. So val favorite food string null, and then val college string equals null. Very simple profile. Oh, why is this red? Oh, right. Let's also commit this to Git, right? So be a good demo for Git. So add profile data class. Right. Okay. So now we have our profile and we have our layout file created. Now we can, right. So I don't really know how to code up a backend. So I want to leverage Firestore to help me store the profile for the given user. Yeah, so then let's do just that. So I want to be able to access the properties for the for the user. So I'm going to create auth so I can access our current user. Auth current user. Right. So then I have the current user here, just like this. But first I have to actually get my auth object. There we go. Right, so when the user creates on our create profile button, all user response fields to create an object of our profile model class. And I'll use that, and then I want to store that information with our user in our cloud Firestore. Yeah. So you can get the current instance of Firestore using Firebase.firestore, very similar to how we did with Firebase.auth. This is another way we can access the main object that interacts with Firestore. Right. So how Firestore works is that it stores data in documents, which is then stored in collections. So Cloud Firestore creates collections and documents implicitly the first time you add data to a document. So you don't necessarily need to create collections or documents; it'll do that for you. If you are familiar with backend at all, collections are kind of akin to tables, while documents are similar to the given rows in the table. So in this case, let's create a collection of profiles and documents for the given user storing the new profile. Yeah, so in this case, like I said, on the clicking of our button, I want to create a new profile. So we just add our listener here, and then we can create our new profile simply by, in this case, our first field is favorite food dot text, favorite food dot text dot toString, and then binding dot college name field text toString. Nice. Right, and then I want to add to my collection of profiles this document that has our new user. Let me close this. All right, the new profile for this user. And I want to kind of set myself up for making this easier to retrieve the given profile for some user. So I'm going to mark each document to be the unique ID that each user has. I can do that by just doing current user dot UID. In this case, question mark, and then toString. Right, so UID, it returns a string used to uniquely identify your user in your Firebase project users database. Use it when storing information in Firebase database, which is Firestore, or even in your own backend. So this allows me to uniquely identify every unique user in our project. So this is a very neat way to kind of help me store these new profiles and tie them to our given user. So I can set our data. In this case, I want to set our new profile. And then I can add on complete listener. Since we're done creating our profile, there's no need for this secondary activity. So then let's just directly launch ourselves back to our main activity. Intent, this main activity class.java. Amazing. Right, so now we're creating our profile, right? So now let's just prove that it works, right? So now in our main activity, let's then display the current profile that we just created if we are logged in. So then I'll just keep it simple and I'll only just retrieve one of the fields. In this case, I'll just add a text field that has the college name on it right above our profile picture. Stress to start, top to top, bottom to top of profile image. Nice. Okay. All right, so back to our onCreate here. So if we are currently signed in, and we know that we're signed in if current user isn't equal to null, then I want to update our UI. In this case, I want to update our UI to 1, load our profile picture, and 2, retrieve from our data store our profile data. Retrieve from our Fire store our profile data. So next I'll just create a new function that does kind of both of those things. So I'll just copy this here. And I'll also retrieve from our data store our profile picture, our profile data class. So we can get the doc reference using db.collection profiles document, which and then what do we use to kind of uniquely identify the document? We use the UUID of our current user, so we can just do that here. Right, so then this holds reference to our document. Now let's retrieve that from the cloud, and then we can add on success listener. So if we're able to successfully retrieve it, say we have internet, then we should be able to successfully retrieve our document from the cloud. And we'll just name this so it's easier. So we have our actual document. So now let's retrieve our profile from that. Val profile document to object profile. Right, so this function is, so since in our secondary activity, we actually stored directly the object. So what Firestore is smart enough to kind of convert this object to a form that it knows how to read. And then if you want to try and get it back in the form that we know how to interpret it as, which is as a Kotlin object, we can convert the document when we retrieve it to our model class, which we can just do by setting the type of it here. So now we have our actual profile. So now we can populate the given college field. Did I not give it an ID? Of course not. Okay. ID college text. Binding college text dot text equals profile dot college. Amazing. So now let's try running this again. So here I have my phone here. Just gonna run this real quick. Let's see if it works. Right, I guess in the meantime, we can commit all these changes to our GitHub repository. So I will just, you can also double click to see what you changed. So in this case, I want to turn on optimizing imports and reformatting. So these are just good checks to have where it'll automatically reformat your code so that it follows style guidelines. So in this case, add a profile creation to secondary activity. Oh, oh, wait, I made a mistake. Let me cancel. No, no, no. Sorry, I accidentally checked all the files. I just want to commit one at a time. Okay. I did something bad. I committed the secondary activity first when I should have committed this, because the second activity, the first commits go from top to bottom in terms of time. So since I committed this, it kind of holds references to things that I have yet to create, i.e. stuff that is about to be committed in this commit. So I made a mistake in that sense, but it's okay. Don't do what I just did. Make sure that you have the right order in terms of how you're committing things. Or just commit as you go, which is probably a better way to kind of minimize having that problem. So in this case, I'll just add profile fields to secondary activity. Okay, and then lastly, add profile retrieval to main activity. Okay, all done. Nice. Okay, so then now if we actually open up back our activity, so it automatically signed, since we already have a user signed in, right? It signed in, and then here it popped. I think when I created when I created the profile, it actually let's see if I can replace it. I think the first field was college name. I'll just do Cornell University. And then to this, I'll just add oatmeal again. Oatmeal. Create profile. Beautiful. So then we see here directly. Oh, I didn't. Right. So then I just created a new profile. And then at the top here, we see Cornell University, which is the college name that I just inputted when I created the profile. And we see it populated here because of this bit of code right here. So it's pulling from our Firestore the document that holds the current user UID, and then it just retrieves a profile, and then it just uses that to kind of populate the different fields. That's kind of how you can use Firestore if you don't really know backend as a way to kind of store information. It's really cool in that sense where you can kind of do everything in one, even though you're just a simple front-end developer. You can kind of do everything full stack all at once simply by just retrieving documents and storing documents. So it's pretty nice. I guess that's it for the Firebase demo. Yeah. Right, so the last thing I want to showcase is quick settings, quick setting tiles. So quick setting tile is a fairly new API introduced with Android 7.0 NuGet, which is API 24. It enables developers to add custom tiles to quick setting menus in addition to existing ones like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, airplane mode, etc. So if I swipe down here, these are all examples of quick setting tiles, and you can add your very own custom ones for your given app. So if I click this edit button here, these are kind of um, other quick setting tiles provided by apps that I currently have installed on this device. So for example, I have this here remote from Google TV. If I want to add it, I can just simply drag it in here, which is really cool. So you can kind of add your own existing icon to this array of icons. And tiles can give the user quick access to specific tasks or functions of your app without opening the app itself, improving the productivity and overall user experience of the app. Today I'll just show you how you can use a tile to launch into an activity, but they can be used for quick access to any parts, any core functionality of your app. Right, so the first thing that you have to do, so each tile in our actual code, each tile is associated with a tile service, which is in charge of updating the status of the tile and managing the user interaction, such as clicks. Tile service has, actually, I'll get onto that later. Before you can actually create your own tile service, you have to register it in the Android manifest. So if we go to the Android manifest here, I already kind of created kind of what it's supposed to look like. This is the bit of code that registers the given tile service to your actual Android project. So in this case, you can just give it a label. In this case, it's just home. You can also give it a custom icon. In this case, I just kind of gave it the default one that's already there. So I'll show you later how you can add icons that are already provided by Android. And it requires this permission. And then, yeah. So it's saying that I don't actually have a class labeled my tile service, so then let's create that. Oh, in this case, it created a Java class, which is not what we want. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to delete that. I don't know why I did that. We don't use Java in this class. I'll just create it myself. So my tile service. Beautiful. Right, so now we can begin to actually create our tile service. So in this case, it extends tile service class here. And then what's neat about tile service is that it has 4 main method callbacks. The first one is on tile click. In this case, it's just on click, on click. So this function is called when a tile is clicked on. In this case, as I said earlier, I want to use tiles as a means to launch activities. So I'm going to just use this tile as a means to launch our main activity. Main activity intent. Intent this main activity class.java. Nice. And one more thing that we have to add to this, since we are planning on launching an intent outside an actual activity, we have to add a special flag that can let us do that. So we can add flags, intent flag, activity, new task, here we go. So then this lets us actually launch the activity from our tile service, because this isn't actually considered an activity in itself. It's a tile service, which doesn't have its own activity lifecycle. It just kind of exists in the sphere of your quick settings. So now we can actually launch our activity here. In this case, you want to use launch activity and collapse. We have to use this because with this method, the system actually closes the quick settings automatically when we click on the tile. Because if you just use simply start activity, the activity will start, but the quick settings like this here will still cover what's actually underneath, which is our main activity. So it would be a hassle for kind of users to swipe to see the activity. So we can just hide it for them automatically by just using this function down here. And then main activity intent. Right, and then the second callback function I want to add is actually I'll do on added. So this is called when the tile is added to like the main row here. In this case, I want to change the label and also change the icon. So I'll have QS tile. This lets us access the tile directly, and then we can just change its attributes by just accessing like we do in Python. So I'll just have it take me home I'll change the state to be active. And I also want to change the icon. Icon create with resource. This drawable. Actually, I want to create a new icon. So then how can we do that with kind of the default icons in Android is that we can right click on drawable, click new, click vector asset, and then we can change this clip art icon to be whatever we want. In this case, we can search for whatever icons. In this case, I'll just make it a home icon. So that's indicative of what action it does, right? We can just add home. I'll change this to be IC home. And I'll click next. Now that creates it in our drawable. And then we can just access it in our file using r.drawable.home. And then we have to now commit these updates to our tile, and we can just call the function update tile to do that. So make sure you call this if you're changing the tile in any way, because that's what actually commits the changes to our tile here. All right, so now let's try it out. So first we have to install the app again so that the tile service is actually visible on our quick settings. We can wait for that to run. I'm going to add a comment to this. So I only implemented 2 of these callback functions, but there's a lot more that you can implement yourself. I think there's on start listening. So this is called when the tile first becomes visible. This happens when you already have the tile added and you open the quick settings. This function is when it's first called and when the tile is first visible. And you can also have on stop listening, which is called when the tile is no longer visible, aka when you close the quick settings tab, quick settings kind of drop down. And you also have on tile remove, which is called, of course, when the tile is removed from the quick settings. And yeah. Okay, so now we're waiting for our app to run. I think it just did it. Right, so our app is run. So now let's try adding the quick tile that we just created to our quick settings tabs here. Oh, look at that. So our quick settings tile is right here. So now let's actually add it to our main setting. Up. So I add it here. Look at that. The tile that changes to the tile for the change that we made here. And then if you click on it, just take a few minutes. Oh, looks like my Zoom is frozen. Oh, I think I just clicked on airplane mode. Oh my gosh. Let me hop back in this. I accidentally just clicked on airplane mode in this. I'm really stupid. Okay, let me share my screen again. Okay, we're back. And now let's try launching our quick settings tile here. Take me home. Look at that. It launches our right, it launches our home activity button in there. That's kind of how you can use these tiles to kind of access quick actions in regards to our app. In this case, I just use it to launch an activity. But you can kind of use it to kind of towards whatever needs that you want in terms of how your app functions. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that demo today. My name is Chris, and thank you. My senior